Good afternoon, everybody. Baruchim Hagoyim. So the second parak of Pirkei Avos, the first Mishnah, says, Rebbe Omer, Ezo hi derech yeshara, shiyover lo ha'adam. What is the straight path that a person should follow? Kol shi teferes lo seha, v'teferes lo min ha'adam. Everything that is honorable for yourself and brings honor to other people. What is it? Havizor b'mitzvah kala kibachamura. That you should be careful with an easy commandment as with a difficult one. She'ein ato yodea matan scharim shel mitzvos. Because you do not know what is the reward for a mitzvah. So something which seems difficult for us to do, we think that the reward is greater. Something easy, we think maybe not. And Rabbi Beryl Wine has an interesting book he wrote on Pirkei Avos, and he says a couple of things. First, he says that even a small thing that we might do, like to encourage somebody, which at the time we're doing it sort of almost means nothing to us. You don't know what the effect of that will be down the road on that person, their family, and their family's future. The other one, he says that sometimes when something looks easy, we tend to say, well, we'll do it later. And he gives the example of a fundraising event that they were trying to raise money to build a shul, and they were on the foundation, and somebody said, well, when you get to the roof, I'll be there with the money. And he said, that's not the right way. The foundation is being built now. Get busy on the foundation. So, the Torah, what is the source of mitzvah we're going to be talking about today, sending away the mother bird? So, the Torah says that if you come across kikare kan sipor lefanecha baderech, if you encounter a bird's nest on the way, the whole eitz, all haaretz, whether it's in a tree or on the ground, and whether there are chicks or eggs, and if you see in our picture there are chicks. There actually are a couple of eggs in there, but you don't see them. There's some eggs in there too. But here the mother is feeding the chicks. And I'm not going to say who drew it because she just wanted to tell.
Did a great job.
So if you encounter such a situation, and the mother is hovering over the nest, or on the eggs, do not take the mother when she is on the nest. What is the remedy? Shalech tishalach es ha'em. Send away the mother, and the children, the offspring, you take for yourself, that it should be good for you and you should have long life. Okay? So that's a pretty powerful statement about something seems basically pretty easy to do. And Rashi says, mitzvah kalash ein bachi sorin kiss. This is something that costs you nothing. What does it cost you to send away the mother bird, right? Amra Torah lamani tavlach, that it should be good for you, arafti yomim, and you'll have a long life. So Rashi says, kal v'chomer lamatan schar ma mitzvos chamuros. So certainly, then, if you a difficult mitzvah, how that is beneficial to you. And the commentaries have a lot to say about this, you can imagine. So the Ramban in particular, he says, ein l'cha kala v'chol mitzvos mishulach HaKein. There's no easier mitzvah. All the 613 mitzvahs, the Ramban said, there's nothing easier than this mitzvah. And what is the reward for it? It should be good for you, you should have a long life. So by doing such a simple act, you get rewarded with a long life. So,
question, do you think it's easy climbing up a tree? Putting on senses is really
you have to ask my son-in-law. He's very good at climbing trees. Some other people have a hard time climbing trees.
It's not an easy mitzvah.
And by the way, he says the Torah says it could be on the ground. It could be on the ground as well.
Yeah,
so
the ducks make them on the ground.
So the nest could be in the tree. The nest could be on the ground. But either way, the idea of just sending away the mother bird seems like a pretty easy job, easy thing to do. He says, and then he quotes another one. He says, mitzvahs hakanasas orchim, the mitzvah of inviting guests into your home. Priest har banim, the reward for that is to have children. Haraya Sarah Imena, and what is the proof? Our mother Sarah, that she was very good in Halacha Zorachim, right? That was the big mitzvah that Avraham and Sarah did. V'chein yesh mitzvahs shesachara abrichas yomim, and there are also mitzvahs for which the reward is long life. Kimitzvahs kibud, like honoring parents. Mitzvahs Shilu'ach HaKein, and sending away the mother bird. So mitzvahs which appear not to be not difficult to do, aside from the idea of climbing the tree, but still in all, you find the bird's nest and you send the mother bird away. And the Sefer HaChinuch, which is a listing of all the 613 mitzvahs, this is a book that was written hundreds of years ago. It's anonymous, nobody knows who actually wrote it, and they say he wrote it for the benefit of his son. So he had the mitzvahs all organized. So he says, what is it? Shalech to shalachas ha'eim. He says, Mishor she'eh mitzvah, what is the source of this mitzvah? Laseis elibenu she'ashkacha sakel baruchu al briyosov. And to let us know that Hashem is in charge, b'min ha'adam b'frat, and particularly on people, because it says, Ki einav al kol darkei ish v'gomer. So that it says, he quotes from a pasuk from Job, book of Job, that Hashem is always watching. So even though we may be involved in a simple pursuit, we're on a nice walk and we encounter this bird's nest, so letting know that God is watching. And in terms of this mitzvah itself, he says, Sha'adam zocha lebanim b'schar mitzvah zu. If you fulfill this mitzvah, your reward is you're going to have children, right?
Why should there be a reward?
For doing a mitzvah?
Yeah.
Why should we be rewarded for mitzvahs? So that's a good question. And actually, the Pirkei Avos later on talks about that, and it says that it's better to do the mitzvah for the sake of it, not because you want to get a reward. But still in all, the reward is going to be there. Whether you are looking forward to just do it because you love God and you love the world and you love what you can see with your own eyes, so you want to conduct yourself in a proper way, but the reward still remains. Whether you're seeking it or not, it's there. And so this particular mitzvah, the reward, you have a couple of different things that are mentioned. One is a long life for yourself, it should be good for you, and have children. And why should children be involved? So he says, Adam zocha lebanim b'schar mitzvah zu, you are rewarded, or you merit to have children, she'im shel chiyumo, that you are actually allowing the species to continue. Why is that? Because she'im abanim heim kiyum adam b'zikro, and your children are what allow the human species to continue, right? And he says, what is that like? When you send away the mother, and so if you take the mother together with the offspring, what have you done? Not only have you taken the present generation, but you've eliminated the next generation too. So that is a way to avoid extinction of species by not taking both together.
We call it conservation today, but
Exactly, we call it conservation today, right? So he says, because we send away the mother, and by that means we have the at least the next generation, because the mother will be able to produce more. And they also reference another mitzvah called Oso Vespino, and that means that if you have a cow and a calf was the offspring of that cow, you do not slaughter them both in the same day. It's called Oso Vespino. You don't slaughter the cow and the calf in the same day. And that's also, because we know that the mother cow does have strong feelings toward her calf, and at the same time that by removing the generation which can reproduce and the product, you could lead, God forbid, to extinction of species, and that's not something that we want to do. So the Gemara in Chulin has a whole chapter about this Shilu'ach HaKein. I'm going to just read you the first Mishnah, which basically outlines how the whole thing operates. Shilu'ach HaKein noeg ba'aretz b'chutz ha'aretz. This is important. So there are a lot of mitzvos that apply only in Eretz Yisrael, right? For example, Shemitah, Bikurim, all these agricultural mitzvos. So we have to be careful, right? If we're buying produce from Israel, that the mitzvahs were observed, but we don't get to observe those mitzvahs. This one is operable anywhere in the world, whether it's Eretz Yisrael or here. B'fnei habayis v'shalom b'fnei habayis, right? And there are certain mitzvahs that only are fulfilled when the Beis HaMikdash is standing. So we're learning in Daf Yomi right now the Masechta of Zvachim, which relates to offerings in the temple. We can't do that today. So there's a lot of questions about that. Why do we spend so much time studying about something which has no practical use for us today? But this mitzvah is practical because it is observable wherever we live, whether we live in Yerushalayim or we live in Boynton Beach, Florida, whether there is a Beis HaMikdash or not. B'chulin al shelo b'mikdashim. It only applies to non-consecrated animals. And goes on, it says, Chomer v'kisi hadam mishluach HaKein. So there's another mitzvah like that. When you slaughter a chicken, you have to cover the blood, right? Or if you were to slaughter a wild animal like a deer, if you want to have venison, you have to let the blood flow on the floor, and then you cover the blood. So that one applies to birds and to animals. The mezuman she'ein mezuman, whether it's prepared or not, and we're going to find out that Shilu'ach HaKein only applies to something that occurs by chance, not that you prepared for it. Shilu'ach HaKein eina noeg ela ba'of. It only applies to birds. Ve'eina noeg ela b'she'ein mezuman. It has to only be where you didn't prepare in advance. So ezahu she'ein mezuman. What is such a situation where it's not ready for you? Kigon avasim v'tarnagolim shekina b'pardes. This is ducks and chickens that are out in orchard somewhere, but not the ones that live in the home. Avol im kinin b'bayis. So if they're living in your house or in the barnyard, in that case, patim l'shaleach. Of tomei rovetz al beitze of tahar. So first of all, it only applies to kosher birds. But suppose you have a non-kosher bird sitting on chicks that are from a kosher bird. Are you obligated to do this mitzvah? Or v'tohar rovetz al beitze of tomei. Or suppose you have a pigeon which is sitting on the chicks of a raven, right? Right? Patim l'shaleach. The mitzvah does not apply.
Does that usually happen, that other birds sit on eggs of another mother?
Well, you know, there's a bird called a cuckoo, and they're famous.
They will lay their eggs.
They're famous for chasing away other birds and taking over their nest. So it does occur. It does occur. And so the mission is saying to you that mitzvah does not apply in such a case. Okay. Korei Zocher. So suppose you have a male, right? We're talking about sending away the mother, but suppose the father is sitting on the eggs, and we know that happens. We know there's certain birds like the mother takes a turn, she'll go off, and the father will sit on the eggs for a while. Rabbi Eliezer and Anshei, so they have a difference of opinion here whether you're obligated to send away the male bird if it's acting the way that we would normally expect the female to act, or if you don't have to because it's not the female. Okay, and then there are a lot of particulars to this, how this mitzvah works, and so it could be on your property. So let's say I have a large piece of property, and part of it is fenced in where I have my little farm or whatever it is, but the wild acreage, birds could be nesting there, and that mitzvah will apply in those areas as well, even though it's my property, but it's not something that I expected or prepared. So they give a case of somebody who purchased the produce of the nests of his neighbor, and there was a nest in the wild area, and the bird laid eggs, and he wanted to take the eggs. The person who had contracted to buy them, and the problem was it was Erev Yantif, and he didn't want to have to worry that if he takes the eggs on Yantif, and he wants to cook those eggs on Yantif, that they'd be muktzah, right? Because while they're in the wild, they're considered muktzah, so he needs to take ownership of it. So they have a whole discussion of what to do, how to send the mother bird away before Yantif to make sure that on Yantif you're not violating that problem of muktzah, taking something which is what they call nolad that came into existence on Yom. Okay, so let's get into the body of the discussion. So we said that it has to be a situation where you came upon this, not exactly unexpectedly, but it was not something that you had prepared in advance. So the Chassam Sofer, he says that he quotes the Ramban. He says the reason for the mitzvah, shalonis achzar le'akar emabanim. He should not be cruel, right? So who the mitzvah is aimed at you, not necessarily to protect the animal. It's aimed at you, so you should not have cruelty. Afagav de'asir lomar kansi por yagiu rachamecha. Even though you're supposed to be merciful towards the bird nest, vatam shelo yagiu rachamav al bali chayim kol shel tzorach adam. That it is, we have an issue of tzar bali chayim. You're not allowed to make animals suffer. Well, how about when I kill a cow? Is that making the animal happy? Probably not, right? But when there is a purpose, a human purpose for it, then we're permitted to do it. So in this case as well, you can send away the mother bird because because if there was no way that you could get benefit from living things and they could be suffering in that event, you couldn't do shechita, right? That's the whole thing where they talk about how they'll free range chickens or whatever, and then they kill them. So it's sort of a funny thing, but we're permitted to make animals have pain if there is a benefit for people. So in that case, af gezeres hein aleinu. So we are instructed shelo nilmod lachzar, not to be cruel, and not to have, and we should correct and improve our own character. So and it's clear. If you don't need the chicks, says the Ramban, so it's obvious if you don't need or want those chicks, you're not obligated to send away the mother, right? Because what's the point, right? El Azarius obviously not, because what you've done.
You get a mitzvah to do send away the mother in those cases.
Pardon?
You still get the mitzvah.
If you send away the mother and do not take the chicks, we're gonna get to that actually. So he's starting out Ramban.
You're just sending the mother away. You have no plan to do anything in the nest.
So right. So we're going to get to. So what Reuben is saying, should you send away the mother? Either you have no interest in the chicks, and you're basically saying the same thing. And we're going to find out that it's not so clear that you necessarily have to want the chicks. You could. The mitzvah sending away the mother, you could actually be practicing it, and the reason is, what is the purpose of the mitzvah? Why are we committed to
To
this
refine
mitzvah?
ourselves.
To refine ourselves,
I mean,
and part of it, we just
Still, the mitzvah is still applicable.
yeah. So somebody who's here asked me an interesting question the other day in the parsha we're going to be learning. We're going to be reading Toldos. It talks about the fact that Yitzchak and Rivka were married 20 years. They had no children, and they prayed to have children. So the Mefarshim, the commentaries say that why were all three actually, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, all of them, why did they have children late in life, or why were they not able to have children right away? And the answer was that because God wants to hear the prayers of the righteous people. So somebody, and I won't name him, Reuben, asked me why does God act like that? Why does he want us to suffer in order to have to do the benefit? So it could be that this mitzvah is sort of connected in a certain way, that we're creating in a way a suffering of the mother bird, but then the pain of the mother bird in some way, and this is a Kabbalistic thing, it creates a situation of mercy in the world, which then extends to the Jewish people. So that's what they call a nissar, that is a hidden reason, and the most commentaries say if we have something that we can figure out is a revealed reason, we should kind of stay away from the hidden ones. But he says that in any event, that we should learn for ourselves to improve our own character, not to be cruel to animals. So, therefore, you shouldn't be trying to create a situation where you needlessly make the mother suffer for no good reason, right? And then going on, the Marsha says, and the reward for this mitzvah is you'll have children. Because of the Sefer HaKein and the book that I read to you, he's abanim tikach lecha, that you take the children, take the offspring, the chicks for you. Ritzono lomar lenafshecha, it's for your own soul. It's for your own benefit. That since you had mercy, I guess, on this small creature, and you didn't want to make the mother suffer, you sent her away so she wouldn't see you taking the chicks, that's going to be a benefit to you. So, and in the Gemara, it says, we read the Mishnah, the Gemara continues, it says, Ki yikare kan sipor lefnecha, when it appears, when it happens along the way. So, lefish namar shalech tishalachas aim, esabanim tikachcha. So what does that mean? You send away the mother, so maybe you should go out there, because it's a mitzvah, right? Even though you don't want the chicks. Should you go wandering around in Baharim Begavos, should you go looking in the hills and the mountains to look for a bird's nest so you can send away the mother, right? Because you did already all 612 mitzvahs, you have one left, this one, and you want to fill out check off your book, you got them all. So should you go and look for it, right? So now the Gemara says no. It says if it should happen, you shouldn't be going out there looking for it necessarily. So, and another commentary, this is if he says, Afagad lofi mashmo sashas. So as the Gemara says, Yochel Yachzor Baharim, could be you should go out and hunt around. He says, Eino chiv lachzor l'kayim mitzvahs. You're not obligated. So this is one of those that if it happens to you, in a certain way, it's like a Meshiv Aveda. If I find a $5 bill on the ground, then I've got to go try to figure out who owns it. But if I don't find it, if I never find something like that, so look, I missed that one. So you can't necessarily go out and look for it. So you should try to fulfill the mitzvah, but only if it presents itself to you. It's not something that you need to go and look for, right?
What if the chicks are not kosher?
Pardon?
The chicks are not kosher, so you really can't use it.
That's right. So birds that are not kosher, you're not obligated to send away the mother bird, because you're not going to be eating that bird. So this only applies.
Maybe you shouldn't actively do it because you really have no purpose for it.
Right. So the mitzvah only applies to kosher birds. Does not apply.
I shouldn't have put those birds. I should have put some ducks or chickens or something. I just drew birds, and then David said to me,
Well,
but they're not kosher birds. It's too bad I'm not making one.
This is actually a robin, but it's wearing its Halloween costume. So you have different colors there. So you have to send away here's an interesting one, that the purpose of sending away the mother is l'orer yalas ima, that the mother should cry for her children. So if the purpose of it is that you create a situation of mercy in the world because the mother is crying for her children, then maybe you should go out and look for the mitzvah. Maybe it shouldn't be just something that happenstance. So, but the majority of commentaries say that that's kind of a mystical thing. And if we can find something more on a logical basis that we can understand, we don't go looking for the mystical answers. So the Chavod Yair, this is also a commentary. He says that if this bird nest happened to form in a field, am I always obligated? This is your question, Ruben and Ron. if I come upon a bird's nest, am I obligated to send away the mother? Oh, Rashai le'elech l'darko. Or can I just continue on my way? Do I have to stop and take care of this mitzvah? Because it seems like the Torah only says, send away the mother when you want the chicks. So if you don't want the chicks, can you just continue on your way? Nira, and it says, he says, it seems to me, Nachanhu, Mashi Yesh L'Daktek Gemara. You could learn from the Gemara. It says, Yochol Yachzer V'Harim. Maybe you should go out hunting for this thing, right? He says, and the Gemara says, no, not. Say, HaKein Mistaver L'Tam Shekasa B'Zohar, and then he's going to quote the Zohar, the Kabbalah. Shu Kadei Sha'of Ima Ofos Tistar. That the mother, the bird, should suffer, and that somehow or other does something improving the world. But so he says in the end that you should not be looking for mystical answers. Just concentrate on what we can understand in a normal way. So the Ran, who was a 14th century Spanish commentary, asks, Shiluach mihava mitzvah mutalas lalav harei im lo ratzu likach havanim patim l'shaleach. He said, this mitzvah, is it something that depends upon him? No, he says, if you don't need the birds, you don't want the chicks or the eggs, you do not have to send away the mother bird. Okay? And the Chazon Ishi says, in paga b'kan eina rotze le'azakos b'bonim. If you come upon this nest and you don't want the chicks or the eggs, einu chayav b'shiluach, not required. The imlo kain chayav Rabbi Yehuda b'shlo. So then one of the cases in the Gemara that if and they say in the Gemara it said you're not obligated to. So therefore, if you don't need the chicks or you don't want those eggs, you are not obligated to fulfill this mitzvah.
Yeah, neither one of them is run or without another master. So if I do though, I have in mind to take the chicks.
If you have in mind to take the chicks,
I have in mind to take the chicks. I sent the mother away.
then you send the mother.
And then I changed my mind. Did I fulfill the mitzvah?
That's a good one. We're going to get to that. Actually, suppose I send away the mother, and I say, you know what? I'm not going to take the chicks. And now the mother comes back. So the next person that comes along, can he fulfill that mitzvah? Because I already sent away the mother, but the mother's back now on the nest. So we're going to get to that. That's very good.
Well, it's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah living
You get
in
the
a
law.
world by itself. It's your mitzvah, so each person can get a mitzvah from it. Why not? Well, if you sent away the mother, you changed your mind, you didn't take the chicks or the eggs.
Right.
She comes back, she's sitting there again. Next person comes along, says, "Oh, opportunity for a mitzvah." She says, "Why not? The mitzvah is
You
not
get the
full."
lollipop too because you have the good answer.
That person may not even known that the first one was there.
That's true too, but I don't have another lollipop. So
There's a whole bunch
so
of them.
actually.
Could help us.
Actually, if you have a situation where, let's say there are 2 eggs in the nest, I can send the bird away, take 1 egg, and the mother bird comes back. Somebody else can send the mother bird again and take the 2nd egg. So 2 people could fulfill the same mitzvah with the same nest if there's more than one egg. So he says,
How's that? But there's only one chick.
No, it's 2
and
eggs.
only one, oh, and then the mother comes back? Could somebody else do the same thing again? And we're gonna get to that one right away. We're gonna get to that right away.
Does sending the mother away cause the mother stress?
It does cause her stress, that's right.
Like she could have a heart attack and die?
It could happen.
Cholesterol is.
So remember, the Kabbalah says that's kind of the purpose of it. And if that's the purpose of it,
Does it make
then
her suffer?
then you should look for that mitzvah to do it. If you're trying to create this sadness or longing in the heart of the mother bird, then you should go look to do the mitzvah, and we don't do that.
Why?
So-
Together.
You don't like it?
No. A
Well,
lot of things I
sorry.
don't like, but.
So, Rav Moshe Feinstein, he says, suppose this is on your property. So in that case, that, that it has to be like in a wild area, not in a place where you can easily control the birds. Can't be, it has to be more or less a happenstance type of thing. Not that you have a chicken coop in your backyard, or you have, a barn where the chickens are nesting. It has to be basically something that you come upon it, and otherwise you're not obligated in this mitzvah. So yeah, you do not fulfill the mitzvah. So for example, we have big like egg laying factories almost, huge chicken coops. We have many chickens, and the eggs, they lay eggs and they roll down. Why are we allowed to take those eggs? We're not sending the mother away.
But they're not under the mother. They're
Well,
not
right,
in
they roll
her
down.
jurisdiction anymore.
Right, so he deals with that question, and he says that if the mother is not directly resting on them, or right, so then the mitzvah does not apply. And also, even if it were that way, if we're raising chickens on our property, and there are like nests and she is sitting on them, we're still not obligated in the mitzvah Shilu'ach HaKein. We can take the eggs, but we don't necessarily have to send the mother bird away because it's in our property, that's in our control.
Is there a difference if they're fertilized eggs versus non-fertilized eggs?
I'm sorry?
They're fertilized eggs versus non-fertilized eggs. In chicken farms, they're non-fertilized.
The chicken
Farm,
right.
chicken, egg layers.
Right.
They're not fertilized eggs. They're never going to be a
Right.
chicken, so,
Right. That's true, too.
there's no problem there.
Well, it actually doesn't
Maybe.
ask if they're fertilized eggs. It just says if there are eggs. So whether the eggs happen to be fertilized or not, it's not really, that's not a question that's dealt with. But, so, and even in a place they say, Chesed mishtameres, that means an enclosed or guarded location. Yochol Omar b'tchila might say, Eino rotze klal shetizke lo chatzer b'veitzin shetzipur tatio. So suppose I have chickens in my yard and I'm not looking for the eggs. I'm not interested in those eggs. So in that case, it would be easy for you to observe the mitzvah if you, let's say, they have a situation where somebody catches a wild bird, puts it in a cage, and brings it into the house, and now that wild bird lays an egg. So, could you open the cage and send that bird away? I said, no, that's not the way that the mitzvah is performed, because it's got to be something that you come upon the bird in the wild, and then you have the obligation to send the mother bird away, and take the.
I think it would be a teaching moment if you have little kids with you, and then it would really have it would be meaningful for everybody, but otherwise, a chicken farmer is not
Right, he's not
obligated,
interested
so-
in, that's right. So then, okay, so we've decided what the mitzvah is, or what it applies to. How is it actually done? How do you send away the mother bird? So in the Gemara it says, Bameh meshalcha, how do you do it? Rav Huna Amar, Rav Huna says, V'ragleh, because you take it by the feet, and I guess you just like pitch it some way. Right? Rav Yehuda says, Amar B'gapel, he says you grab it by the wings. And you, right? So, and Rav Huna says, why? Meshalche regel hashor b'chamor. So the idea of shalech, to send away, there is a verse that relates to sending away. It talks about an ox and a donkey, but the idea of sending away is by the legs. And Rabbi Yehuda says, because the wings are like the legs of the bird. The bird travels by means of its wings, primarily. So, how does it actually do it? You grab the animal, the bird by the wings, or you grab it by the feet, and you send the mother bird away. And the Rambam says, Ketza Meshalech Chaim, how do you do it? Oches b'knafeh mafricha. You hold it by the wings, and you like throw it. So suppose Sholcha v'chazra, he sends away the bird and she comes back. V'sholcha v'chazra, he sends her away and she comes back again. Afilu arba v'chamesh pamin chayav l'shaleach. Even 4 or 5 times, you still have to be to send her away. So that would seem to indicate that you can get the same mitzvah several times with the same bird.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I had that.
Pardon?
That came to me,
It happened to you.
yes.
You were able to fulfill this mitzvah. Okay.
I just let them do it themselves. You couldn't interfere.
You didn't interfere, okay, you didn't want the chicks, you didn't want the,
No, I wanted them to do what they wanted to do.
so you allowed the mitzvah
Yeah,
to go by because you didn't need the.
right,
so
and
that-
the birds came,
Right, so that's what they're saying.
father came, and they took care of it
And they
themselves.
fell in, then they went away.
Yeah,
Right.
and I let it.
Okay, so that's basically what the Gemara is saying, that you're not obligated to send away the mother. Because if you don't need the chicks, there's no point in doing this.
Aye.
So now suppose all the conditions have been met. You were walking along and you saw, let's say, the nest on the ground, so you don't have to climb the tree. So it's easy thing for you to do. And it happens to be a particular kind of bird that you want those eggs. You like.
Pigeons make nests on windowsills all over the place.
Right, so you want, I mean, we had it one time that we had a duck's nest, right?
Yep,
On,
I even have the picture.
right, you could use that picture. Yeah, we came to our sailboat on Sunday morning, and there was a nest, the ducks that live in there had made a nest on
In a
on our
cubby,
boat.
in a cubby.
Yeah,
The
So-
eggs were in there.
and the eggs were in there.
Big blue eggs.
But it's so wonderful to leave them alone.
Except
Right.
when you're sailing and the mother duck attacks you.
The interesting thing was that when we got to the boat, the mother was not there. So maybe she had seen us coming out, because the boat is like anchored in the middle of the river, and you have to go out with a rowboat to get your boat. So maybe she saw us and she flew off. Maybe she was watching from the distance. We
They're
don't
very
know.
aggressive,
What?
ducks.
Yep.
So we took the eggs
Yeah.
and we
We
threw
brought
them.
them back to the clubhouse we put them on the ground because there were other eggs on the ground from other ducks. The mother never came for them.
Right.
Now they won't come.
So I'm not sure. I guess we didn't really fulfill the mitzvah because the
No.
mother wasn't there for us to send away. But we did take the eggs and we just brought them and left them for anybody who wanted them. But so now we come to the situation where it's easy for us to do it. We didn't intend it. We want the bird. We want the eggs. It's a mitzvah. Everybody knows it's a mitzvah. Is there a bracha? Right? If I'm going to eat an apple, or if I'm going to eat that egg, if I cook the egg, I'm going to eat the egg. I won't eat the egg without making a bracha, right? So how about doing this mitzvah? Is there a bracha to do this mitzvah? So the Aruch HaShulchan, it's really like a commentary on Shulchan Aruch, he says, Nir Pashut. He says, Shechayev levarech b'shas shlilucha. He says, it's pretty obvious to him, you should make a bracha, right? The came Matzasi b'Sefer Tamim G'dayim, he said it in another book. He said that when this mitzvah comes to you, you should make a bracha. But the Rashba does not, he says no. He says, Mikol Mokom, it's no doubt that you don't make a mitzvah on this. Because on Shiluach, or on the negative, not to take the chicks. Because he says, Nira Yoser, it appears to me, Shahaylo Lavorach Alalah, maybe you might make a bracha on not sending away the mother, but not taking the chicks, but sending away the mother, because the main part is send away the mother. So that one is do not take the chicks until you send the mother away. But he says you don't make the bracha on a negative. You only make a bracha. Notice when you don't do something you're not supposed to do. Like if I don't turn on the light on Shabbos, I don't make a bracha that I didn't turn the light on. I only make a bracha when I'm making kiddush on Shabbos. You only make a bracha on a positive. So he says it seems like the main part of this mitzvah is the negative, not to take the chicks without sending the mother away. So then on what would I make the bracha? He says you shouldn't make the bracha. And he says another commentary says Yesh litain tam gam kain shalom avarch al shilach HaKein ofen arishon. He says in the first instance you shouldn't make the bracha. Why? The b'shah shemavarch over lasiyasa, that when we make a bracha, when you put on tefillin in the morning, you make the bracha and then you put the tefillin on, right? Or you put it on your arm, and before you tighten the knot, that's when you make the bracha. That's what they call over lasiyasa. You're supposed to make the bracha before doing the mitzvah, right? So in this case, so what's going to happen? Yesh safek shema tivrach ha'em me'aleha me'al HaKein b'li sheyishilka. So suppose, they ask, why is there no bracha for doing tzedakah? Right? When you give tzedakah, there's no bracha, right? Why don't you make a bracha? Because they say, well, two things. First of all, there's another party involved. It's not just you. I mean, maybe the person, just because somebody came into the shul and he's got a great big beard and he's wearing kapata, maybe he's not really coming here for donations. Maybe he happened to be in the neighborhood and wants to daven here. So you're going to give him tzedakah, you're going to insult him, he's not going to take it. So therefore, you've made a bracha, and there's another party involved. And the second part is, if you start out and say, by the time you get finished, the poor man is going to starve to death. So you should give, if you want to get tzedakah, give it right away, don't make a bracha. So they say the same thing regards here with the bird, because you're busy making the bracha and the mother flies away. So it didn't make any sense to make such a bracha. So, and he says, and there's a second reason, because when you take the bird, there's no question that you're going to fly away, but still in all, that you could have the avera of not sending the mother bird away. So therefore, you don't make a bracha. But there is a famous book. It's called Shalech to Shalach. It's written by Rabbi Aviner in Eretz Yisrael. He's contemporary. He quotes sources from Rabbi Yev Yoshev and Rabbi Kanievsky, and he says that there is no bracha really. But if you want to, I'll give you something that you could say. You could say, Hareini muchan mezuman, I am prepared, l'shalech ein tzipor min hakan, to send away the mother from the nest, l'kayim mitzvahs aseh shetzivanu bari, that Hashem, my Creator, has commanded me. Said the Torah Kadosha, the Torah Shinamar, it says, Shalech to Shalach Asein, send away the mother. The mitzvahs lo saseh, and also a negative commandment I'm going to be fulfilling. Shaloli kachaim, so not to take the mother, because the pasuk says lo tikachaim. And here's what you should say. Okay, so pay attention in case this ever happens to you. And you do want to say the bracha. He says you don't say God's name, but you say Baruch Atah Melech HaOlam Asher Kitshanu B'Ritzosav V'Tzivanu L'Shaleach HaKein. Okay, so if you want, he says mitzvah is not necessary, but if you do want to say want to make a bracha, then there is a bracha that you could make.
Wow.
Okay? So there you go. So now just a couple of points just to finish up. So if there are, we talked about this, if there are two eggs in the nest, two people could fulfill the mitzvah the same. I could send away the egg, the mother, I could take the egg, and then Franny could come along and she could send away the bird again and take the egg. So each one can fulfill the same mitzvah. Or in Reuven's case, if the bird came back, so now Gershon could send away the bird and he gets the mitzvah. So it could be done multiple times with the same nest, and I recommend that because it doesn't happen too often. So you get an opportunity, right? So, and then if how is it done? So we say that best is to try to get it to leave. So he says best is to like hit the nest with a stick or something, make a noise to scare the mother away, and pardon?
Use a firecracker.
Use a firecracker, that's right. And then how far away does the mother have to be to fulfill the mitzvah, right? So she's got to be like far away that you can get to the eggs without her interfering. And then if you did not take the egg, did you actually fulfill the mitzvah? He says that taking the egg is not necessarily required. So you can send the mother away and not take the egg. So let's say maybe you had no intention of taking the eggs to begin with, and you want to fulfill the mitzvah, or you had intention to take the eggs, then you say, you know what, I don't need these eggs, and let the mother come back. So you still have fulfilled the
Who's
mitzvah.
saying that? Who said that? Who says this?
So this is from the book. The book is called Shalech to Shalach, written by Rabbi Aviner. Right.
Why don't you just leave the eggs and they become chicks again?
Well, so you could do that.
Yeah, that's
you
what
could do that.
happened.
So that's
And they took off.
right.
They may not hatch if they don't have the mother with them.
That's true too. Right.
No, the
And,
mother
well,
stays.
so, but I guess the assumption is the mother is in the neighborhood, she's gonna come back. And so leaving it alone, so most people would probably say that's okay. Because if you don't need the eggs, or you don't want those chicks, there's no obligation apparently to send that mother away. You can do it, and it's a mitzvah to do it somehow or other, but if you leave it alone, that's pretty good too. And he says when you send away the mother, suppose you took the chick, right, this little chick over here, and you took it and you held it in your hand and you say, what am I going to do with this thing? I can't feed it. I don't have the ability to catch worms or whatever. You put it back into the nest. So, what?
The chick,
It'll be dead, you think?
the chick that you put back in the nest
Right.
probably won't get fed again, so it's.
Because they smell the human being on the hand. That's a possibility, but you could return them. You could return it. And he said that's sort of an ideal form of doing the mitzvah because you sent away the bird, you took the chick, and now you put the chick back. So now you've allowed the mother bird to fulfill her job as to feeding her young and growing, okay? So what birds, in case this happens to you, what birds are covered by the mitzvah? So not chickens, because chickens are more or less domestic, but they say American robin. Apparently a robin is apparently a kosher bird, and so that one. Canada goose, right? So European robins, a mallard duck, so that's a wild duck that if you encounter a mallard duck, which is what we encountered, that is in the category of mitzvah. Mourning doves, northern cardinal, so cardinal apparently is a kosher bird as well. Palm dove, pigeons, so if you come upon a pigeon nest, you want to send the mother pigeon away, or sparrows worldwide. These are all birds that have this application for the mitzvah. So I'll leave you with that idea that if this is something that happens to you, you've come upon such a bird, so now you know what to do, right?
Leave them alone.
Look away.
So we have one school of thought says leave them alone, and the other says that if I do need or want to have these birds, so then there's a right way to do it.
There's a story in our Talmud of this man telling his son to climb the tree to scare away, the bird to come for both mitzvahs. And so he actually fell and died.
Right.
But both those mitzvahs where you obey your father and you scare away the bird are for a long life. And so
what happened? Right. So what is the answer? What answer do they give?
well, the answer that I understand, because I once heard a gush on this, is that shows that these mitzvahs are for the afterlife. They're not for now,
Right.
but they're for the after. They don't give you long life here, but
It's
in
a
the
long life
afterlife.
in the world to come.
So
Thank you all for coming.
that's the story of Alicia.
Thank you.